Welcome to RPI's CloudSuite Tech Talk series. My name is Keith Wayland, and I'm here to introduce today's presentation on CloudSuite Analytics. With us today, we have our very own Aaron Epps, as well as a very special guest from Infor, Mr. Rob Kraus. If you enjoyed today's presentation, please note that we have these every Friday at noon Eastern, and you can see our schedule on the Work Out Loud events page. Lastly, please note that we welcome questions. You can type them into the chat box at the bottom of your screen. We'll save them till the end so as to not interrupt the flow of our presenters. And with that, I give you Aaron and Rob.
All right, thanks, Keith. And with that, let's take a look at the agenda for our time together today. So just a few key areas we're going to cover. So we want to start out talking about some of the common challenges strategically that organizations see when thinking about their go-forward plan from where they are today or their current state when it comes to reporting analytics and where they want to be. Then we're going to move on and we're going to spend some time to kind of give you a state of Infor Analytics, right? What does that look like today for CloudSuite customers for both CSF and for GHR? Then we're going to talk about the implementation approach, right? How do we put all these pieces together to make sure that you deliver value quickly to your organization? And then we'll end with next steps and Q&A. All right. With that, Rob, did you want to talk about some of the data challenges that you're seeing with some of the customers you've been working with?
Sure, absolutely. So if we look at the slide here, this, I think, really represents where a lot of different companies are at in the market today trying to solve data challenges. Being able to get data from their data sources, different data silos across the organization, and to extract and transfer that data requires going to market and purchasing tools to help them achieve that. Then we see customers making investments in data cleansing and data modeling tools, then investing in tools that allow them to make that data easy to interact with from a business perspective, and then ultimately display that information in insights and dashboards. Ultimately, this takes a lot of time and effort and people to maintain and manage. And so where we see the current state of the market is most customers and prospects that we talk to have 4 or 5 different BI tools that they're Lego bricking together to try to get to insights and dashboards. So because of this, the analytics development cycle takes a long time, and the business is usually underserved with the information that they need because it's just a long process that has to happen before they can get to the insights and dashboards that they want to drive to be more data driven. So where I think we can provide significant impact for our customers is getting from this current state to a future state architecture. And so the same process of connecting to data, we solve all those challenges from connecting to data, transforming it, having it make sense, putting it into a place where people can make decisions and have that be consumable for the organization in a single solution. So you no longer have to go to market and deal with multiple vendors and have all these different integration points to get to your analytics. We can solve for end-to-end analytic capabilities in a single platform. So providing the data transformation, the data storage, the database, the data modeling and visualization capabilities in one place allows our customers to do more with less. It accelerates the implementation cycle and allows them to manage these analytics environments with far less resources. So ultimately, our goal is to help get customers from this kind of current state to a simplified ownership experience and ultimately a lower total cost of ownership for analytics and BI. And we take it one step further, not just solving analytics and data challenges, but also providing our customers with an analytics and data platform strategy. So not only bringing in data for the needs of reporting and analytics, but having a true data lake strategy where you can archive data, bring in legacy information, help you migrate off of on-premise and outdated systems, but then still have that reporting and analytics layer tightly integrated to where you can take advantage of and get greater value across your data assets across the organization. So here on this slide, and we think it's important to not only provide robust reporting and analytics, but give our customers a path to the cloud being able to still leverage access on data that's on-premise, support hybrid deployments, and ultimately connect to all key data assets across an organization and bring that into a consolidated place for reporting and analytics and better decision making. So if you look at just what it is that we solve for as a whole, is really breaking it up into three main areas. One is our enterprise data tier, where we're providing connectivity to Infor and non-Infor data assets. So our goal is to help customers bring that in, model that data, and put it into what we call our analytical data tier. Here's where we have some uniqueness in the market with our automated data refinement technology. We have an industry patent that allows us to take data from different systems and easily take that information and put it into analytically ready data models that can really speed up your implementation time. So instead of the manual efforts that you're going through today to define how table structures should be set up and having to know joins and all this information, we try to streamline that process for our customers and ultimately deliver analytic applications as part of our cloud suites that live within this framework that can accelerate time to value on the underlying ERP and HCM data. So solving access to data, having data make sense and putting it into a place that can be better leveraged to the organization, and then presenting it out to key stakeholders, whether that be through dashboards, analytic reports, pixel perfect reports, or mobile consumption. Our goal is to really solve those three main challenges for our customers and do all of this in a single solution. So for folks who are out there and are looking at how the data would flow from our CloudSuite solutions, it's a very simple process. The data, as it's changing in the core system, is being replicated and moved into our data lake, and reporting and analytics sits on top of it from there. So basically, the same strategy that we showed in the previous slide is represented here. So all the data that you have in your organization or data coming in from other systems can get staged in the Infor data lake, and then we have robust reporting and analytic capabilities that sit on top of that. And this works for our multi-tenant cloud customers, and also customers that are interested in using this with our Lawson V10 as well. So for financial and supply management Lawson V10 customers, we can also have plug-and-play analytics that allow access to those underlying tables, and we bring that data in for reporting and analytics. So our goal is to really try to provide a strong analytics foundation that you can iterate on top of versus having to start entirely from scratch. So our analytics recommendation is our 60-30-10 approach, and in really, providing those core analytics with our foundational analytic applications, as we've just discussed, whether you're on-prem or you're in the cloud, and then using our enterprise reporting and analytic capabilities to help you solve your unique and differentiated requirements, all while maintaining that single user experience and accelerating your journey to the cloud. So with that, I'll pass it back to you, Aaron, on just really unpacking what else is delivered and included in our Infor Analytics packages.
Sure, thanks, Rob. And that's one of the points I really want to emphasize. You can't underestimate the amount of effort that goes into building a comprehensive data model for your ERP, right? So we know from having worked with Infor's development team that they put in thousands of man hours, right, to build out a robust, complex data model. And basically what that does is that, it organizes the data in a way that makes it easy for anybody to access it, right? So today, right, or in the past potentially, when you've had to access information from your systems, normally your first step was going and grabbing a relational database diagram, right? Figuring out what the tables were, how you're going to join foreign and primary keys, writing the SQL, right? All that's gone. The data model removes that complexity, and it allows you to get at basically everything that's within your ERP system in a way that's easy using something called the semantic layer, right? And so the semantic layers is basically, it's just a way where anybody can find data in terminology that makes sense to them, right? So if you've had to do those exercises in the past where you actually go into the relational database, sometimes it's an 8-character column name, right? And you have to decipher or keep a map of what data is actually stored there, versus being able to go in and type in turnover rate, right? You want that information on your report. Why can't you just type it in and find it? That's what the semantic layer does. And so Infor for CSF and GHR customers that are multi-tenant in the cloud, or for V10 on-prem customers for finance and supply chain, they've built out these data models that make it easy to access all of that information and put together the reports and analytics, the dashboards that you want, or to do self-service analytics on the fly. And so that's, I think there's huge value in being able to do that, and also knowing that it's extensible, right? So once you've got that ERP data model available to you, that's a huge chunk of your organizational information that's nicely structured, organized, and analytics ready. If you have a third-party system, let's say you want to blend data with your EMR or from a departmental system or a project management system, you can use the same framework because it's full stack, right? It has all of the tools you need integrated into one platform to connect to another third-party system, add it to the model, and then easily be able to blend that data with data from your ERP. So that's a big part of what you get with Infor Analytics is you get that data model. So for CSF customers, you're going to get your finance and your supply chain data easily organized and ready for analytics. For GHR customers, same thing. You're going to have all of your HR data there and available to you. It's extensible. If you have user fields or other customizations that you've done, you can certainly extend that model. But you're starting at, it's kind of like, I like the iceberg analogy, right? Is everybody wants to do reporting and analytics, role-based dashboards, right? And that's the tip of the iceberg. The 90% that's below the water is the data modeling, it's the data transformation, all the work that goes into building that model and make it ready. So out of the box with Infor Analytics, you get that data and you can use that as needed. So in addition to having that data model, which makes it easy to access the data, you also get reporting and dashboard templates, right? So you're going to get role-based dashboards, right, that align with particular roles within an organization. So let's say you're in HR and you need to do compensation analysis. Well, there's a set of dashboards, right, ready for you out of the box that are built on top of that data model. If you're in finance and you do financial reporting, those statutory financial reports, balance sheets, income statements, they've got those done for you, ready to be tailored to your organization, right? So you're certainly not starting from scratch. You've got a data model. You've also got reports, templates, role-based dashboards that you get to leverage out of the box. You can use them as is if they fit the type of analysis that needs to be done, or you can easily take them and customize them to your organization. Okay, so just want to talk about CSF Analytics briefly, just to kind of orientate you to where things are at currently. So the current release is 11.081. That's out there for multi-tenant customers. There's also a version for V10 that's available, and it gets you those two key things, right? It gets you a data model, and then it gets you those different reporting structures and templates and dashboards for rolling out to your organization quickly. Some of the things that are changed that are key, in particular, if you used CSF Analytics prior to version 11.078, there were some really important GL structures that hadn't been added to the model. So those are there after 11.078. So if you had experience trying to develop reports before that were primarily financial in nature, you certainly want to look at it after 11.078 because it's going to have all of those important data structures to organize and sort, your chart of accounts and all the other structures that are stored within Lawson.
So I think just a couple of things to point out here too is this has been an evolution. So the products is definitely more mature every quarter that we go into. So going into this release and with our next release coming up, I think when you see kind of the breadth of what's out there, this really aligns with Infor's agility approach with our 60-30-10 approach. So getting started out of the gate with a strong foundation that's going to meet most of your needs, where you can then custom tailor and personalize things, is really going to help you implement faster. And this has, I think, tremendous impact, and analytics should be something front and center as you're thinking about getting better value out of V10 or as your migration to the CloudSuite is going underway. So that 60-30-10 approach, I think, aligns really well with this. And if you think about things that you might want to configure, right? User-defined fields, maybe personalizations that are going to happen during the implementation, having the analytics in place and the pipeline to the data already established is going to make the process of surfacing that data much more easier. And it is just going to help grow and evolve with you and your analytics needs as you move in the future on your analytics maturity.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other points I'd like to bring up as well too is for customers that are on V10, maybe they know they're going to be on that system and they're not sure how far out their path is to CloudSuite. Is that you can go and you can build, because the data model between CSF and V10 is similar. The content that you build on top of V10, so let's say you want to improve reporting analytics today on V10, but you want something that you can carry with you. Because those two different systems share that same base data model, you can take that content with you. So let's say you implement on top of V10, you build a bunch of content for finance and supply chain. Whenever you're ready to transition to CloudSuite, the supply chain reports and dashboards, because they're built on that same data model, can go with you to CloudSuite. If you develop financial reports on V10, you're going to have to change some things, right? Because the financial structures change. But it's really just the plumbing behind the scenes. And so you can certainly take that with you. So there is a path to get your content that you build on V10 today using this technology and take it with you to CloudSuite in the future. All right, and just want to throw this up to show you a little bit of the breadth and the depth of content that's available to you. So the first column shows kind of the different roles. And then when you go right from there, it shows the different type of deliverables or artifacts that are delivered as part of this. So this is for the 11.08 release.
And I think just hovering on this slide for a second here, and what we've seen with a lot of our customers is because of the robustness that's delivered in here, when we go to stand up a customer, they can cherry pick the best reports and dashboards that they like, easily personalize them by maybe adding a different filter or way to bucket, or they want to add a column to one of these reports. But overall, what we see is a reduction in the overall reports that our customers have to manage going forward, moving from an on-prem legacy system into an analytics solution like this. So, we've seen multiple examples of customers with 400, 300 different reports, consolidating those down, to 25 to 50. We have some customers managing their entire business with 4 executive level dashboards. So role-based access, the ability to have interactive visualization and dashboarding, I think can really improve the user experience. And this will drive user adoption because there's a huge library available for people to go out and start investigating and getting more value out of the gate during user acceptance testing or as you're rolling this out and going live. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And we work with customers. A good example is when we look at their current state financial reports, they may have 10, 20, 50, 60 budget tax reports. And the only difference between all those reports is that they're for different departments, right, or different structures within the organization. So that's a great example of where you can maybe take 50 to 60 LBI reports that all have to be maintained, updated, calculations have to be kept in sync manually, and you can just roll it all into one dashboard where the user can quickly select that department and then save that as their preferred view. So you only have one object that you have to maintain going forward.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great to just log in and you have the dashboard of the report that you need, and you don't have to remember a report number, then input parameters and wait for it to run and then download it into a PDF.
Right.
We can definitely help streamline that user experience for sure. So.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, certainly, a lot of hunting and gathering going on there today where people have access databases, they have Excel spreadsheets, they have, extracts that somebody from IT sends them. They collect that, they piece it all together. There's certainly ample opportunities to automate and streamline those processes so that it gets rid of those manual extraction processes and automates kind of the operational efficiencies.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more that we can automate, the more that we can bring into the system, you're ultimately eliminating risk and you're protecting your intellectual property. So it's definitely some great use cases for leveraging enterprise analytics here.
Right, and that's one of the things that when we talk with customers, one of the biggest risks we see, especially to when you started off the presentation, you were talking about different products and different tools, right, different ways of doing things throughout that pipeline, right, and so each of those provides a different thing that needs to be managed and make sure that it's kept in sync. Because what often happens today is with those variety of tools, right? Whether you have Tableau on your desktop, you use Access Database, you have Excel. What happens is when people extract from that single source of truth and they kind of make their own data silo, it's very quickly out of date. And there's no way to ensure that you have that governance on the data, right? When they calculate, your operating margin, right? Someone else's calculation might be slightly different, or it might be the same calculation based on different data set. But either way, you have the risk of misinformation being spread throughout your organization, and whereas you have people making decisions on data that isn't actually accurate that they think is, right? So you certainly want to look for opportunities to consolidate that and make sure everybody's playing from the same sheet of music throughout your organization, no matter what type of analysis they're doing, whether it's financial or they're looking at vendor performance or they're managing your people.
Exactly. No, that's absolutely key. And getting everyone reading off a single sheet of music, I think is definitely the goal. And if you can eliminate the number of failure points that exist in your current process by moving from a multi-system approach to a single solution, I think you can definitely see some huge gains there. So absolutely. So here we're looking at also what comes out with the HCM Analytics as well. So definitely a lot of content there.
Right, and same kind of thing. So HCM is similar to the CSF Analytics. You get that data model. That data model organizes and allows easy access to information, right? So, one of the traditional things is, how do I get into GHR and report on audit data? How do I get in and access action reasons or action reason codes? Those things are fairly complex, right, when you're going against those relational data structures. But once you have the model, you simply click and select those attributes, put them on the report, and they're there. The model manages all that complexity for you, which makes it great for self-service and doing that ad hoc analysis. So sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, some of the things that really stick out to me, especially when, we're diving into the HCM Analytics, like the immediate turnaround value is, definitely investigating what's going on around turnover. First year leavers, why, turnover by reason code, turnover by maybe job category or location. I mean, really being able to dissect that out of the box. We see customers really leveraging the turnover content during and day one of go live. And then, from the financials and supply chain perspective, not only, checking the box on getting those core templates done for your balance sheet and your P&L and everything like that, but investigating your vendor performance. How are my vendors doing? Should I be diversifying or consolidating vendors based on my purchase history and items? Do I have inexperienced buyers? Do I have contract leakage? Mm-hmm. So we definitely see, a big ROI investigating the supply chain side of things out of the gate as well. So, there's definitely some really good nuggets that from day one you can go down that value chain of data and start making some better decisions. I mean, our goal is to help our customers be more data driven and grow in their analytics maturity. And this is again part of that 60-30-10, that strong foundation that can get them there out of the gate. So, right.
Yeah, and just another example of a business problem that we helped a customer solve quickly was. There sometimes is latency, right, between when a termination happens and when it actually gets entered in the system, right? And that can affect things like payroll, right? So there's the risk as an organization that, let's say somebody's termination is effective on January 1st, but sometimes that termination might not actually be entered or logged till the 16th, the 30th, maybe into February. And so there's the risk that for each of those, assuming you have a 2-week pay period, that person might still be on the organizational payroll. So with this, we went and we pulled up the GHR data model, and we were able to go into action reason and find terminations, and then do a calculation between when was the term entered, what was the effective date of this action, and then being able to see the difference between those two, so they could very easily identify who was more than 14 days, because we need to figure out what's going on there. And then if you have GHR payroll, right, integrated, or you integrate with S3 payroll, you can pull the numbers in and actually say, okay, this is the cost to the organization when this process isn't executed in a timely manner, right? So it was a great example, and it was a problem they had wrestled with because they couldn't quite get all the pieces together in the right sequence to figure out where that was. And that was something we sat down in about 15 minutes. We were pull that information, and they were really impressed. And so that's what I mean when we talk about having the access to the data model. We weren't writing queries, right? We weren't scripting, we weren't doing any of that. Right. We just sat down and solved that business problem in real time, interactively together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think another example of things that organizations are struggling with is identifying, flight risk and identifying how do we prevent regrettable turnover and what is the cost to the organization, where if we just invested in this person versus now having to go through recruitment and through a training and onboarding process to bring someone else in. I mean, getting to some of those cost metrics, I think, is key, and this can definitely help tell that better story around preventing regrettable turnover. So.
All right. So we'll go through here. We'll finish off HCM Analytics. Again, a similar summary showing the different roles and the different artifacts that are delivered by those roles. And that's one of the things that you mentioned earlier that I think is important. If you're a multi-tenant customer, it's going to continue to grow, right? You're going to get additional KPIs added, different role-based dashboards, different extensions to the data model. So this is something that continually evolves. It's not static from the time you implement it and then you have to update it. One of the advantages of being multi-tenant is that you're always going to get these releases as they come out. So it's going to continue to get better and better, more and more content, more and more robust access to data out of your system.
Yeah, and specifically here, in addition to the turnover analysis, I mean, diving into compensation, looking at, where things are at in the pipeline from a rec or applicant status is huge. Even the utility dashboards, I think they don't get as much credit as they should, just having better visibility into the quality of your HR records. Should we have mandatory fields turned on? Do we have employees that haven't completely filled out their employee profile, and being able to easily get to that and look at some of the data quality within your HR data, I think, is key. So definitely some great content here.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to monitor your system and maintain that data integrity is key. We certainly work with customers who utilize that utility to build things, to check for, who doesn't have a manager assigned, right? And sending that out as a report once a week. So rather than, coming back and checking it once a month or once every 6 months and seeing that there's all this data that has to be fixed. So lots of different ways you can utilize the technology. In addition to providing data to end users, it can also be used more from an IT or a systems perspective to maintain the data integrity of your system, to make sure that numbers are accurate and processes are being followed and optimized.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I just want to transition and just show you a couple of screenshots here of what this actually looks like, right? So we've talked a lot about your system and all the information it contains. We've talked about the data models, right, that are deployed and how it organizes that information. So I wanted to show you from an end user's perspective, right? What does that look like if you're someone that wants to go in and do some ad hoc analysis, or if you want to develop a dashboard or reports? So if you look at the couple of screenshots I have on the screen, on the left-hand side here, you can see we've got all the different subject areas, right? So it makes it relatively intuitive to drill into those subject areas to find what you're looking for. So, do you need to go into payables? Do you need to go into the global ledger, or do you need to go into order entry? And within those, then again, you have kind of a simple hierarchy of organized information, and you go and you find those different building blocks, and you simply just click and drag them onto the canvas, and then you create that report that you're looking for. It can be as simple as rows and columns of data, right? You just need to get in and see the raw information, or you can use it to create visualizations that are interactive and you can actually embed onto a dashboard. So that's what that data model does. And so think about what that experience is like versus how you get information out of your ERP today, right? We touched on it earlier. It probably is some combination of relational database diagrams and SQL scripting and stored procedures and getting IT guys on the line, right, to access it. Once you have that data model and you leverage all of the work that's been put in, it makes it very easy to find and put together those different bits and pieces of information in ways that are meaningful to you, whether it's something you're going to do and produce on a recurring basis, or you just need to do some ad hoc analysis before a meeting so you can make a data-driven decision about, here's my analysis and here's what I think is happening. It makes it super easy to get in there and do that. Of course, in addition to those subject areas, then it's also searchable, right? So you can go in and you can type in. So you can see in this example, I'm looking for general ledger transaction functional amount. So I start typing in that key, it searches through those subject areas, and then it's going to return anything that matches the string. So it makes it very easy to go in and unlock the information that's stored within your ERP systems today. It also works the same way if you extend it with a third-party system. So let's say you extend it with your EMR and you put in Epic or McKesson or whatever your EMR of choice is. Same thing, right? So you could have a subject area on the left-hand side that says clinical, and you click on that and you go and you find the clinical information and pair, as an example, supply chain consumption information from Optime and Epic, right, with the costing in your ERP to get some of those golden metrics, right, like total cost per case. Well, you can do that. You can do that in a way that doesn't involve, manually putting those data sets together or manually blending that information. Once it's modeled, once it's extended on this platform, you can easily access that information to do that type of analysis across systems, no matter where that data resides. All right. Well, I think that was, I hope that was a good orientation, right, to kind of the current state and the value that's delivered with Infor Analytics. Those robust data models, which are continually growing and evolving with releases, and then also the reports and role-based dashboards that are delivered. And so now we wanted to pivot a little bit and talk about, once you have all this in place, right, you have your data model, you have your tools in place, you have the content that's been delivered. What does it look like then from an implementation perspective? How do you deliver value that's maybe better than ways you've tried in the past? So we're going to talk a bit and pivot to talk about different approaches and ideologies around implementations.
Yeah, so just to jump in on that, from our perspective, having analytics be something that you start before or in parallel with the HCM or financials and supply management implementation, or even with your on-prem solution, having that analytics framework can help the pre-implementation, during the implementation, and post-implementation processes, because you have better visibility into the data. So our goal is to help our customers implement quickly, get value, and de-risk their investments. And if you look at each one of these steps, from the inception of a project to optimizing it, having analytics to basically visualize exactly everything that's happening within the CloudSuite is going to provide much more value, and it's going to drive a better configuration of the system overall, because then you're not going back to the well day one after go live saying, hey, where are these key reports that I need? Or how come we can't see these descriptive fields that we've turned on? Or, hey, we wanted to be able to bucket turnover by this certain way. If you have analytics in place in parallel, you can look at those things as they're being configured and have that better visibility. Also, we see customers, whether they're moving from Lawson or from a legacy ERP system, they want to have that historical context, and they don't want to give up that data, but still be able to see that as they cut over or compare that to the future state data as they move into the CloudSuite. So this, again, is going to help people in their migration from on-prem to cloud, and just providing better visibility throughout the process. So I'm sure you've definitely seen some of this with each of your clients, Aaron, and curious on some of your perspectives and what's worked and what people have been doing around that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, when we work with the customer in implementation, you almost always have this this legacy of this big catalog, right, of current state reports, and you certainly want to make sure that you've got a good plan, right, to transition that content with you, because when you go from current state to future state, you want to make sure from day one of your go live, right, that the insights and the data that you provide is at least as good, right, preferably better than what you do today. And so as you're thinking about making that move, you have to think about you've got that huge library of LBI reports, and they're commonly in the hundreds or thousands that all have to be maintained as independent artifacts throughout your organization. You got to think about, what are you going to do with all those? You certainly don't want to recreate them. Some of them rely on technologies that aren't going to be able to carry forward, right? Maybe it's the way that you access data. So we need to think about a good approach and methodology for organizing that and deciding what you're going to do about that. And then also about the value, right? Are all these things being used? Are they providing information that's helping people to make decisions, or maybe they've been deprecated by something else? that's out there. So, of course, when you're planning CloudSuite, that's a perfect time, right, to start thinking about how do we organize this, examine some of our processes, and maybe getting rid of the things that aren't needed. So one of the things that we do is we've got a few simple steps that we do as part of our implementation, right? We work with you to really categorize and inventory, right, that current state of what does your reporting catalog look like today? What are the technologies you use? Once it's organized, we'll work with you to help analyze, is this useful? Is this something that can be retired? Is it something that just has to stay the way it is, right? There's some things that you may have mandatory reporting that you provide to a third party, and it's going to stay exactly the way it is in LBI or Crystal reports or Excel or however it's distributed, and that's fine, right? But we help you to do that analysis to make sure that you're only carrying forward the things that you should. In addition to working through that catalog, then we'll help you, map out what are the right tools for those things, right? So you kind of had your legacy toolkit or your current state toolkit of products that you use to deliver those. Some of those may not be compatible, right, with the direction you're going, or some of them might be, might be obsolete, right, compared to current technologies. So we'll help you take that inventory and then organize it into basically work lists, right? Things that people use, traditional reports and dashboards. And then based on the capabilities that are included with CloudSuite, we help you figure out which one goes to the right thing, because it's certainly, you don't want to take a one-size-fits-all approach where you try to take all 2,146 LBI reports and implement them all with one tool as part of your CloudSuite migration. So we know the full breadth of capabilities, whether it's list views, whether it's BI FSM, whether it's Infor Analytics, and we map the right tool with the right solution. Once we've done that, then we help you to prioritize that work and then get those developed, implemented, and then make sure that you're on a path to enablement so you understand how everything works once you go live with your CloudSuite system, and how you can take care of those different technologies.
And I just want to reemphasize the importance of enablement. I mean, user adoption is key, and where we see great success is when, throughout the process, our customers are working with RPI. They're getting in the weeds, and they're looking at some of the core functions and getting cross-trained throughout it. And you guys just do such a great job enabling our customers and getting them comfortable with the solution. And one of the nice things about our visualizations and dashboards is the barrier to entry is really low. So if you can build a PowerPoint slide, you can build a dashboard in our solution. It's really as easy as dragging and dropping the different reports or KPIs that you want and organizing it. And the user interface is meant to be intuitive and drive that user adoption. Because from an organization perspective, if you want to be more data-driven, it has to be simple and easy for everyone to adopt. You don't want to have a big barrier to entry there. And so I think that enablement piece is key, and being able to do more with less, especially during these times, is just super important. So getting people out there, building reports, and being able to fish for their own data can definitely alleviate the number of reports you have to manage, and if there's any IT backlogs that are currently existing today. And RPI, right. You guys do such a great job with that. So
great. Yeah, thank you. And that's one of the things that we certainly see when it comes to enablement as part of the implementation. Is there's always going to be at least two, maybe three, right, groups of people, right, and the types of things that they create. Because I know one of the misperceptions, right, is when you talk about self-service, people think, oh, well, I can, well, then the end users can get at everything they need and they can do all the things they need to do. Normally what happens when you talk about self-service is there's normally a group or a cohort of people that are looking for information, and self-service allows them to do the low to moderate complexity stuff, right, where they're able to get in, they want to develop a simple dashboard for their team, they want to do some ad hoc analysis of financials before a meeting, they want to create a budget to actual, something along those lines. But then there also is the moderate to high complexity, right? And those are the things where, it's maybe a very involved analytics dashboard. And so there's a whole spectrum of points for people to get engaged, and you only have to go as deep as you're comfortable, right? When it comes to your enablement on the platform, whether it's learning the burst tooling or learning the data model, you can certainly pair those. And people that are perhaps frustrated that they can't answer simple questions themselves today are going to feel unshackled, right? The fact that they can get in and easily access this data whenever they need it. The people that do advanced or moderate to advanced complexity reports are still going to have those types of things that need to be created for the organization. So the point is self-service doesn't mean people are going to do everything that they ever need, right? You're going to continue to have those different tiers of complexity and different rules within the organization that'll do that. But it does increase the accessibility of information, right? So it frees up that data so that financial analysts, supply chain analysts, et cetera, folks in HR can also get at their data when they need to and don't have that reliance on somebody that has the in-depth knowledge of complex relational data structures or SQL or programming, et cetera. So with that, we just want to close and talk a bit about a next step, right? We know there's lots of people that are out there that are curious. If you're a V10 customer and you have questions, reach out to us. Just send us an email, questions@rpic.com. We'd be happy to set up a meeting with you. If this is something you think you want to pursue and you want to go to the next step, we've got a quick start for analytics, right? So this is a joint offering that we have out there. We're going to get you some enterprise analytics licenses. We're going to get the data model set up so you can access all the information. And we're going to send some of our experts to work with you side by side to show you the tips and tricks and to get you up. We're talking hours, right? Hours or days to get you enabled on how you can access this information because it is intuitive, it is easy, it doesn't involve learning a new scripting language. And you can leverage our expertise and we can show you best practices for how you meet with business stakeholders to develop dashboards or how you work with your executive team to develop content that's going to allow them to monitor organizational performance. So if you are interested in that next step or if you do have questions or you're curious, let us know. We'd like to think we're very helpful. Send us an email, questions@rpic.com, and we'll be happy to talk to you. And with that, we'll open it up for questions.
All right. Well, let's get through some of these questions here. Rob, did you want to take the first one? We got a question here asking about data lake. Maybe just kind of repeat the question, and then we'll talk through it together.
Sure, absolutely. So our first question comes in around, does the data lake provide benchmarks from other organizations to compare how we are doing in that area? And so if you think about the capabilities that we're providing between the analytics and the data lake, what our customers can do is you can define your own targets, benchmarks, or thresholds that you want to measure yourself against. Or if you're already bringing in or are subscribed to some industry benchmarks or best standards, you can use those as data points to measure yourself against in any of the reports or dashboards that we've shown. So, we definitely have the capability to bring in data from other systems. And that kind of dovetails us into the next question, which was, how do we, what are the, the reports and graphs and everything here produced on? Is it produced using the Burst product, though it may not be a full version of Burst? So I think there's a question kind of coming in around the licensing. So I want to clear some things up around that. So if you're going with one of our cloud suites, so say you're signing up for CloudSuite Financials and Supply Management, or you're signing up for CloudSuite HCM, there's starter content. There's a starter pack for analytics that Aaron and I just walked through for the HCM and the FSM content. That's delivered using the Burst platform. And those reports and dashboards are available as part of the cloud suite. Where the licensing would change is if you want to bring in data from another system, if you want to combine data across multiple Infor cloud suites, or if you're using our analytics with our on-premise solution. So if you're a V10 customer and you want to stand up analytics and do pre-built analytics against V10, you would have to have a full version of the burst license.
Great. Move on to the next one here. So we got another question asking about current V10 customers, right? So if they basically said if they're a current V10 customer and they're not moving to the cloud for, let's say, a couple of years, what can they do with Burst today on V10, and then what does that migration path look like to CloudSuite whenever they are? So great question. We get asked this all the time, and so the good news is that we talked a bit about the data model, right? That's delivered. So you've got that data model for your financial, for your supply chain, for your HR information. And on V10, right, it's finance and supply chain. And the good thing is because the data model is not tightly coupled, right, to the underlying system, basically the content, if you were to implement Burst today on V10 and were to spend, let's say, the next 2 years building out role-based dashboards and content, that's going to transition with you to CloudSuite when you're ready to go, because the data model is the same, right, between V10 Analytics and between CloudSuite Analytics. Of course, there'll be some changes you have to do on the financial side because the underlying structures are going to change, right? You're going to go from a relatively rigid financial structure to something that's multidimensional and a lot more dynamic. So you'd have to change some of the financial stuff, but supply chain stuff is going to go with you. So any time that's invested between now and whenever you go to CloudSuite and Burst, whether it's upskilling on the Infor Analytics platform or developing content for your organization, the headline is that content, that time is going to be well spent because your skills are going to transition with you to CloudSuite. Infor Analytics platform with Burst is the strategic reporting solution for Infor for all products going forward. And then the content that you would develop would also go with you as well. So there's certainly a path to take that with you and leverage whatever work you've done while you've been on V10 as part of your migration plan to go to CloudSuite.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, Aaron, I mean, all the more reason to leverage the full use Burst application, right? Our recommendation is to lead with the full use version of the analytics suite, because we often find customers are going to have data in third-party systems that they want to analyze. We had the example of bringing in benchmark data. Maybe you want to connect to an EMR system. Maybe you have, a different system for, for time and attendance or for payroll, whatever it may be. We want you to be set up for success out of the gate. So down the road, you can continue to scale in your analytics maturity, complexity, and use case, and be right fit with the capabilities with the full enterprise analytics version. So we typically always recommend our customers to start with that anyway. It's going to help you bridge your gap to the cloud if you're moving from on-prem. And if you're starting off in the cloud with it, it's going to give you the scalability to really take on new data initiatives without increasing your infrastructure or hardware costs. It's one of the benefits of our cloud solution is our customers can have multiple reporting environments that they can use for many different use cases and reasons with the full enterprise platform. So if you want to have a non-prod, a test, a dev, a QA, sandboxes, or places where you want to put departments to work in, you can help folks and give them that capability without increasing your cost of ownership, because we don't limit our customers on the number of analytics use cases or analytics environments that they want to scale up and use. So that's a big differentiator for us, and ultimately reasons to leverage our full enterprise platform.
Next question we've got here, just kind of general question: what kind of HCM reports are provided out of the box? So there's role-based content that's provided as part of HCM Analytics that's available to you out of the box. Often what we do as part of an implementation with customer is we'll look at their current state reporting, work with them to do a gap analysis, right? What's delivered and what do you want to leverage, and then what's the delta between those two things. But as far as the content that's there, there's a number of different subject areas. If you'd like any of the documentation, let us know. Shoot us an email, questions@rpic.com. But some of the areas are, for example, turnover analysis, of course, compensation analysis, applicant requisition, position budget. There's a number of different areas that all have a number of reports, utilities, and then dashboards that are available, delivered out of the box. You can take them as is. You can take them and make a copy and customize it and make it your own, or you can build out your own content to augment what's been delivered. All right. Rob, did you want to take the next one? We got a question here about combining data from finance and supply chain and HCM to be able to see really both sides of the ERP.
Yeah, absolutely. And it, going back to my previous comments, I mean, that's another really good use case as to why you'd want the, the full enterprise version of the solution is you'll have that flexibility to combine data across all your different systems, whether those be Infor or not Infor, and put those together in one place. Oftentimes, trying to look at things from the financials out to HR, or combining supply expense to maybe the employee record, or looking at revenue or cost for employee, we can enable that with our ability and our flexibility in our data platform to bring that information together and mash that information up. So definitely a use case, definitely something that I think all prospects and customers we speak with would like to do, is combine multiple views of data into that kind of single cross line of business view. The next question we got here, guys, is how long would the typical implementation take? So, Aaron, I'm going to let you take this one, being that you guys are the implementation experts, and we can get some benchmarks and examples around that.
Yeah, sure. So, we've got of course a number of different offerings as far as implementation, but in general, we measure those within weeks or months at the longest. To get it stood up. So typical implementation, if you're looking for a quick start package, you're probably looking at 2 to 4 weeks to get everything stood up, to get some training and enablement, and to work together side by side. And then, of course, it scales up from there. But really, the only prerequisites to be able to use this tech and to do some of the stuff that we've shown is just, to get that data model up, right? Get it hydrated with all of your information. And then you're ready to rock and roll. You can leverage that data model and start building content immediately. And of course, that's why we advise, working with the implementation partner that has that experience, not only with the Infor Analytics platform and the data model, but also with the Burst platform, so you can get up and running quickly and start delivering those role-based dashboards within days. All right. And I think our last question here we had. All right.
So
well, I think. Yep. I think we got one more here. A question about third-party or legacy application integration. Basically wondering, is there a provided data model for those applications, and how would that work to blend that with the one that's delivered? So let's say, for example, you have a small departmental system that you use to track some finance information in. Out of the box, you're going to get your CloudSuite financial data model would be built and available for you. But let's say there's critical information that's stored in another third-party system. What you do is there would not be a data model delivered for that, right? Part of the value of Infor's analytics platform is they do deliver a data model, which literally saves you months and thousands of hours of work. But if you did have a third-party application, what you do then is you'd have to build out that model and then blend it in with the financial model. So it's that end user experience then is seamless, whether you're accessing one system or you're going across multiple systems. The user is abstracted from the details of that, right? They just go and click and blend together the different pieces of information they have. So for anything third party, you certainly would have to build that data model, extend it out, and then everything would work just as we showed during our time together today. All right. Well, I think we've gone through all our questions. So thank you for your time today, and look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time.